We'll get our argument first this morning in case 10277, Wal-Mart stores versus Dukes.
Walmart's obligation under Title VII is to ensure that its managers do not make pay decisions because of sex. And the comparison is relevant.
When she was 3 years old, this case first started, and I made a promise to her that she was never going to have to go through what I had to go through. And here she is, and we're standing in front of the United States Supreme Court. She's 14 years old, and we're going to make a difference. We did make a difference.
Clap your hands, raise your voice. Equal pay is not a choice. Clap your hands, raise your voice. Equal pay is not a choice.
I think we're really at a crossroads with this case in this country because this case provides an effective opportunity for people who are aggrieved by a common problem, a common misconduct by a corporation, to bring their claims together when they can't afford to bring them by themselves.
Hey, hey, equal pay is here to stay. Ho, ho. Hey, hey, equal pay is here to stay.
The decades-long struggle surrounding Dukes versus Wal-Mart represents a functional and highly effective model on how to change the odds in favor of common people facing much more powerful corporate interests. Whether the Supreme Court rules in favor of class action status or not, the case has already forced Wal-Mart, the nation's largest retailer and employer, to recognize its employment practices have been biased against women. The Dukes versus Wal-Mart case, initiated by Impact Fund and equal rights advocates with 3 private firms and the support of the Rosenberg Foundation, has forced a process of fundamental change within Wal-Mart's corporate culture that otherwise never would have happened. These legal efforts, along with years of commitment by the 6 named plaintiffs, have empowered well over 1 million women to stand up to a corporate giant and demand their rights under the law.
This has been a 10-year process, and you have to believe in what you're doing, else there's no way that you can go this long, this far. Because at some point in time, you say, well, that's enough of that, just forget it. But I believe in what I'm doing, and it's important, and this is what keeps me, because I know what happened to me, and I'm not the only one.
One of the things that people see when they see Wal-Mart is they've kept their labor costs very, very low. That's part of the reason they're successful. And they're able to do that because they've kept it low on the backs of their female employees. We had that same labor economist I spoke to at the beginning of the case did this study where it compared the percentage of women at Wal-Mart in management with its 20 top competitors. And not only was Wal-Mart like light years behind it, but he came up with a statistic which I still boggles my mind. In 1999, when he had data, the percentage of women in management at Wal-Mart was lower than the percentage at its 20 top competitors in 1975. So it's kind of like the women's movement passed Wal-Mart by.
One of the really important aspects of our case is the fact that instead of just a group of private lawyers bringing this case, this has been a coalition of both nonprofit legal organizations and civil rights organizations and private firms. And so rather than having Wal-Mart simply say this is a bunch of greedy lawyers that are going after us and trying to make money, they haven't been able to say that. They've had to look at us and say, yeah, well, I think they really are here to fight for these women. But we couldn't do that unless we had very consistent and substantial support from Rosenberg in order to make sure that when push came to shove, and let's be clear, push has come to shove, Rosenberg was there. And there's been an enormous amount of work that we had to do since we first learned that the Supreme Court was going to take the case.
Impact Fund and Equal Rights Advocates are 2 incredibly effective advocacy organizations who combine high-impact litigation together with communication strategies and policy advocacy to do what we call changing the odds for families and working people across California and, in this case, across the country.
I think what's missing from this story about this case is the enormity of the challenge and the responsibility that equal rights advocates and our co-counsel have taken on behalf of these women. What's been missing is really their faces, their stories, who they are as people.
I started Sam's in August of '86. I let everybody know, general managers, assistant managers I worked with over the years, that I was interested in promotion, you know, from hourly to team leader to an assistant manager. Over the years, basically I just saw a bunch of men, a lot of which had a lot less time in the company than I did, get promoted.
You getting what you're needing? Yeah. Okay, well you have a nice day.
There was no set way that you became a store manager. It was just kind of by word of mouth. Basically, you have to be in the good old boys club.
In the beginning, the plaintiffs, they knew and understood what was happening to them and to the other women who worked in their stores. I think they didn't have a really clear sense of the big picture, and frankly, I don't think many people did at all. And I think that what's happened is that we've been able to help them see that what they thought was just about them or just about their store manager was happening in every store across the country.
I think there's a tendency to focus on class actions as being about making money or lawyers making money. It could not be farther from the truth. This is about principle. And I think that in this day and age, people are cynical. They don't appreciate that sometimes people take up causes and fight battles for principle and for fairness and justice.
Walmart is a large employer, and it's good that they are providing jobs. From my perspective, it's important that Walmart, like its competitors, is on a level playing field. In other words, they have to comply with the law in the same way that their competitors do. But in the process of ensuring that the law is being followed, those workers will have a much better and I think healthier life for themselves and their families.
In my store, I would say all the women who wanted to get in the assistant manager program, they were getting the same runaround. Do you know? But some of those women, they just said, well, just forget it, because I'm never gonna get it. I mean, who am I kidding? You know, they just took down and said, well, I'm just gonna be glad I got a job. Well, that wasn't good enough for me, because, and I would tell those women, I was like, you know what, we worked our butt off. We've done just as much work as the next person. And then some of the other people we trained to do a job because, you know, they were new. So we trained people to work in departments, and then when those departments came up, they picked the person that we trained. And this happened a lot. And someone has to stand for the women who can't do this, who may not have a family, you know, to back them up. And behind, and see, we're just, the women in this lawsuit, we're the poster, I would call us the poster children for the women who couldn't do it.
And I think for them, it has really empowered them to see that what they're trying to accomplish is something that matters sort of far beyond their own store, their own neighborhood, their own community. And I think for them, on one hand, it has been wonderfully empowering. I will say though, what they've had to put up with and their fortitude, their courage is absolutely humbling.
These women have names, they have families, they have faces. So when you see lawsuits like this is something that I am determined to do till the end, whatever the end is.
Well, I believe that I'm right and to take this stand against Wal-Mart. I'm not doing it for any malice or any hatred or any such thing as that. We've been very successful in just even filing, because Wal-Mart has made many changes for the betterment of women that works for the company, not just for us hourly that has minimum wages, also at corporate. There has been a lot of changes for women at the corporate level as well. So we have been effective since we filed our suit.
Someone has to stand up and say, that's not right, and demand that we live up to our principles. And that's what the people in Wisconsin are doing, and that's what the women of Walmart are doing.
Well, there have been times that it's been very difficult, and I tend to be very optimistic, but there are times that I recognize that, you know, we may not win. But I finally said to myself that I would rather go down fighting on our side than win on their side.